Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USAPrepares.com. We're delighted you're with us in class today. We're broadcasting 2 hours today from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains on this side of the microphone. And on the other side of the microphone, we're broadcasting live from Hollywood, California, with Dr. Richard Allen Miller and Matt Stein. Welcome, Rick.
Good morning.
And
good morning,
welcome
Vince. Good morning, my cousin Vinny.
Welcome, Matt.
Yeah, you're going to call me Ricky. You're going to be Vinny. Little Guido.
Is that what you said? Yeah, I remember just a couple minutes before the broadcast, you said, whatever you do, don't call you what?
Payback for a bitch.
So, yeah, so I won't say it. It's great to be broadcasting with our two instructors, senior instructors, about a very serious situation, and they're going to be talking about this during a 3-day seminar, and that's in Hollywood, California. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's March 18, 19, and 20. And if you go to usaprepares.com, page 1, you will see a link if you'd like to get tickets. And so Friday, my understanding, it's surviving the big one and preparing and surviving a major earthquake or long-term grid collapse. Saturday, it's critical urban survival skills and preparations. And then Sunday, it's survival instinct training and critical decision making. So Matt Stein and Dr. Richard Allen Miller are working together in Hollywood. Sounds like it's going to be a really neat event. I wish I could be there, seriously.
Yeah, so Friday night's like totally free and open to the public. So it's a 4-hour event from 4 to 8 p.m. and absolutely no charge. Anybody can come. And it's sponsored by the Hollywood Studio District's Neighborhood Council. And then Saturday and Sunday, there's a modest fee, and you can learn more at our website. If you go to whentechfails.com and scroll down to next event, you can click on that, and it'll give you a link to buy tickets if you want, or just read about it. And Rick, what do you have on your website?
Nothing. We have on my Facebook at docram.com will be complete details and links to take you to Matt's website for registration or to leave, a message or something like that. We have another system on sustainable lifeboats, and now we have one that Helen, I haven't had time to queue it up yet, but it's on the website for comments on this specific event and people that want to talk about this specific event. I don't have the link in front of me, but I'll send it to you.
Okay. Well, we got it.
Vincent, could you turn your volume up just a widge? I tried to do it at my end, and I can't quite get it.
Okay, we've got it as high as it will go, Rick. I just talked with our engineer.
Time for a new computer, isn't it?
So, Rick, I'm looking at the book that you just released. It's your workbook number 2. And you talk about surviving, or can you survive or live off the grid for 30 days? Okay, can you live off the grid for 30 days? And many of us think, nothing to it. But what happens when you're, in your automobile and your truck and you get thirsty and you go, geez, I'm really, really thirsty. I can't go another 10 minutes. What's it going to be like 30 days off the grid? And you've got a statement And I find this absolutely fascinating. And it says in your workbook, things always work out in the end. If things are not working out, it's not yet the end. And that's absolutely correct.
There is on Netflix a brand new series. It's only 3 hours. They haven't added more, called Remote Survival, where they take an expert like Matt from Special Forces working on a tent with a little mic, and they take an average citizen, you, anybody, Sandy, and put you in the middle of the Pacific Northwest rainforest, and your job is to survive for 2 days in the wilderness. And that includes water and food, and with no knowledge how to do it, where they walk you through it. And it's interesting because they do 2 of them each hour, and they do them back and forth in different habitats. They do all different kinds of habitats, including Arizona and the high plains, the deserts, the whatever. And of the 6 people that they do, 2 of them fail and can't make it. And that happens right out of the gate with someone right next to you telling you where to look for your water and stuff like that. One guy that failed was because he had the insect in his hand for protein, enough to get his energy from this point to that point, and he couldn't eat it. And he wouldn't drink the water because it was discolored. And what is it, Giardia, that's in the water? Giardia, yeah. The bacteria has to be dealt with in certain situations. And if you're not prepared or have some sense, you can poison yourself, or you can dehydrate, which is where all first illnesses begin. Every single thing that's going to fail starts with dehydration.
Mm-hmm. And you can poison yourself just by swimming in polluted water.
Well, in Africa, they have a worm that will go right up your penis. I mean, it's you got to be really careful.
Well, we're not in Africa, but if there's this major grid down situation, where's a city of 10 million people going to pee and poo when there's no...
And then you've got your worm again. Yeah.
So it's a really serious situation. You look at places like Haiti after the earthquake and the cholera epidemic that went through there, and then you just know in the United States, people are used to being able to drink the water. And it's going to be a pretty serious situation. I mean, if you're in an area like LA with a huge earthquake, then water is certainly going to be the number one consideration. And I know I've been in an extreme dehydrated situation when I ran out of water and 100-degree temperatures climbing El Capitan back in 1984. And my partner had asked me a question, and I'd try to answer, and I'd start gagging and retching because my tongue would stick to the roof of my mouth. And we were so thirsty, we climbed with our headlamps through the middle of the night and found the nearest mud puddle and drank out of it. And I know that if somebody is in that kind of thirst situation, which you'll be in, then you'll drink the most scummy, disgusting ditch water if that's all you have to drink, and you won't be able to stop yourself. And so knowing how to prepare and purify water in a grid down situation is really critical. I mean, it's life and death, unfortunately.
Matt's standard quote that I like to use is 3 minutes for air, 3 days for water, and 3 weeks for food. And let me say this, water is at the top of the list and is why it's chapter 1 in my grid down situation. It's before anything else. It will be about water.
When I lived in California for a short time, about 18 months in 1980, there was a mudslide. It rained and rained and rained, and it became very muddy. And the buildings, the corporate structures that housed a lot of employees were built on slabs, and the water just ran in the front door and flooded the buildings. And then the underground storage tanks for gasoline and diesel were contaminated with water, and it was a mess because there was 6 inches of water pretty much everywhere you're trying to travel. I remember Mrs. Finelli called me and she said, so how much water can I drive through? And I said, well, what are you talking about? She said, well, it's up to the center line of the wheels right now. I said, that's plenty. and so water was a real serious problem. And we were talking about contaminated water. And of course, the television reports and the radio reports, news were telling us to be careful about drinking water. And the mud was so, well, I don't know how to describe it, but trees were sliding off hillsides. Houses that were on hillsides were sliding down the hill. It was a pretty serious situation. So you think that it can't happen? I was there when it did happen. And 20 miles away from us, at that time, we had an earthquake. It was a 5.7 on the Richter scale. It was significant. Buildings were cracked. I'm talking about concrete buildings were cracked. It was pretty frightening. So we think it doesn't happen. It's not true. It does happen. And an example of just one little problem, one little hiccup. At the top of the hour, just before the broadcast started a few minutes ago, the news report was that the D.C. metro system was shut down. 700,000 people were stranded. 700,000. Now, the answer was, we just need more money. Give us more money and we can fix this. How did it get to the point where 700,000 people were stranded? And do you want to be stranded? I don't want to be stranded. So I don't let myself get in those situations if I can help it. I don't go where there are lots of people, where I don't have an exit strategy. How about you guys?
Well, we're in LA right now, so
In the heart of it.
we're in the heart of it. So yes, if the big one hit right now, then we'd be in the same boat as everybody else. And especially since, we've driven and flown here, so we didn't exactly bring everything we have with us. So then in that situation, then we would be stuck with using our own wits and the information we have to make it all work.
So your number one concern, Rick, in your workbook number 2 is water. And tell us a little bit about water. What do we need to do to make sure that in a situation that is dangerous, like grid down or an earthquake, how do we...
The first thing, you need to realize that the water in different locations are going to have different things with them. If you're up in the Cascades, you've got to be careful of telephones and other things for a dead animal.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, when we come back, tell us more about what we need to consider if we're stranded and thirsty, dehydrated. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us, docram.com, and Matt Stein. Matt Stein, whentechfails.com. How many of you want to learn how to dig up bugs, worms, and raise crickets for food? Do you prefer to eat them dried and crunchy or while still alive? Well, you won't have to if you can defend your food supply from predators. You may want to get an AR-15 kit from guns80.com and build your own AR-15 rifle from a kit. If you can legally own a rifle, you can purchase this AR-15 kit. If you're handy, you can complete the rifle in about an hour. The kit comes with all the parts you're going to need to build your rifle, but you'll need a drill press. And survivalists need one anyway. The Guns80.com team purchased the same used floor-standing drill press that I have for $100. You can too. And when you're finished, you'll have a paperwork-free AR-15 rifle, a drill press, drill bits, and the knowledge to maintain your AR-15 rifle, all for less than you expect. So if you want a paperwork-free AR-15 parts kit like mine, visit Guns80.com, Guns80.com, and let the unprepared have our share of the bugs.
Hi there. Are you an unhappy timeshare owner? Have you ever asked yourself, how can I get rid of my timeshare? Does your story go something like Stacy's story goes? Here's Stacy now.
My husband and I went and visited a resort, and they kind of attacked us, and they kept sending more and more people until we finally said yes, and we bought this timeshare, and then we were stuck in this timeshare that we couldn't get rid of, and we tried all different ways. They made it seem like it was this really great deal, and when we said no originally, then they brought the price down, and then when we still said no, they brought in the manager, and they brought the price down even lower, and they started breaking it in different ways to make it look like it was this really awesome deal. The reality was it wasn't an awesome deal at all.
To cancel your timeshare contract, call ACC today. It's an attorney-based program with a free consultation. The first 20 callers get a 20% discount. Call now, 800-587-EXIT. That's 800-587-3948. Call today, 800-587-EXIT. That's 800-587-3948.
We use mobile devices right against our bodies every day, but growing scientific evidence has emerged showing serious health risks associated with exposure to EMF radiation emitted from these devices. The solution is Defender Shield, the most effective mobile radiation shielding ever developed. Defender Shield blocks virtually 100% of EMF radiation from cell phones, tablets, and laptops, and starts at just $64.99. Buy now at DefenderShield.com. For 10% off, use promo code GCN. DefenderShield.com, the worldwide leader in mobile radiation shielding.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich? Working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare? Having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom106.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom, the number 106.com. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom106.com.
Are you looking to sell body armor? Want to make extra money selling body armor at your local gun shows? With low minimum buys and great returns, Katie Armor is the answer. Make money in your spare time. It's American-made body armor with the quickest turnaround in the industry, which means you get your product when you need it at very competitive rates. And they'll ship it to you for free. If you own a business, give them a call today at 855-488-KATIE. That's 855-488-2284. Or go to katiearmor.com. Come and take it.
Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us. Matt Stein's with us. They are in Los Angeles, California, getting ready for their event starting tomorrow. Information's on the website, whentechfails.com. That's Matt Stein's website. There's information on docram.com, and there's information on usaprepares.com, page number 1. So in the Drudge Report, there's a post about San Francisco train system that runs between Oakland, California, and San Francisco, and stopped running for the second time in a month, and they blame it on this new power substation that was installed, and so they're not really sure what's going on, but the train stopped. So here we have thousands and thousands more people who could get stranded, and no one really knows the exact cause. So these kinds of things can happen, and it's not just our imagination. So, back to water. What do we do about water? How do we determine whether we should drink the water or not that we find? Should we not have prepared and carried with us a little water purification system, like one of those bottles that has the carbon block filter in it, or we don't have any chlorine with us, in our pocket? What do we do?
Okay, well, you can assume that water in a metro area is going to make you sick. I mean, it may not. When I was a kid, I drank out of little creeks in my town without giving it any thought, and I never did get sick from it. So, it's a crap shot. But one of the very first things you can do, especially in a place like LA where there's a lot of sunshine, there's something called SODIS, SODIS, which stands for solar disinfection. So if you're in a situation where, you're separated from your stuff, or maybe you never bought the stuff to begin with because you thought everything was going to be fine, and, for whatever reason, you don't have one of those great bacterial water filters or a
Berkey.
Yeah, well, Berkey, or like a Steripen, which is a great gadget to have, which is, if say you don't have any of those cool gadgets. So first thing to do is you go dumpster diving and you find some water bottles, those just spring water bottles. And what happens is that in 6 hours of direct sunlight or 2 days of cloudy weather, if you lay those bottles out so that they point towards the sun, then the UV rays from the sun will kill all the bugs inside of them. So you've got a time lag there. I mean, you're going to have to, hopefully you've got something on hand you can use in the meantime. But if it's a clear sunny day in 6 hours, you just lay them on the pavement and they're going to be pure. So going out and dumpster diving and getting as many of those thrown out soda bottles and water bottles as you can is the very first thing to do.
In the remote survival video, dipster diving was to find an old tin can or something that this one guy had to carry a little tiny can of water almost 4 hours before he could find tinder to start a fire. They didn't even know in that video what Matt has just given you as a secondary thing. And this guy carried this water for 4 hours and then could not start a fire and ended up having to throw the water away after carrying it through a jungle and with one hand.
Why, was he planning on boiling it? Or
yeah,
what
that was the key. And to boil water for several minutes usually will kill most of the things.
Actually, pasteurizing is at 160 degrees Fahrenheit. So by the time you reach boiling, you basically deactivated all the things. So a lot of people say you got to boil for several minutes, but really even at altitude, once you've hit the boiling point, everything's deactivated or dead. So you're fine. You don't need to do it for several minutes. Just bring it to a boil and you're done. So boiling will kill it, but it's not like you always have access to being able to boil
or build a fire. Even that right. Was two of the people could not get a fire started, and one of them failed and had to call for help rather than complete the course. The other one froze that night because he had a paranoia about being in closed spaces and had to crawl underground to keep the air around him warm. It's interesting how our neuroses will be the thing that takes us down.
As I look at your workbook, Rick, you've got something that you recommend every family should have. 50 tablets at about $4.99, and they're water purification tablets. And you can carry those in your...
That is going to be arsenic, for example. If you're up in Oregon, you have to worry about serpentine soils.
Let's talk about that when we come back.
You've got to worry about thirst more than arsenic.
Don't know what's in your drinking water? Better get a ProPure. With the Pro 1 G2.0 all-in-one filter, remove over 200 contaminants, including fluoride and lead. Taste water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure water filtration products. There's a ProPure system for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details on our current free shipping special or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
What would your life be like if you woke up each morning with new vitality, feeling better than you have in years, and you noticed a difference in your sleeping patterns, blood sugar levels, and had a sense of well-being overall? There's something that is changing thousands of people's lives, and you could be one of them. It's called Heart and Body Extract. Sharon Harris, co-creator of Heart and Body Extract, talks about the positive effects of Heart and Body Extract.
What happens with the formula Heart and Body Extract is it's giving the body the necessary vitamins, minerals, amino acids, enzymes, and phytonutrients so the body will heal itself. And yes, the body does have the ability to balance blood pressure, balance cholesterol, clean and unclog the arteries. It can also work on balancing the circulation for diabetics. So the body is an amazing thing. It simply needs some help, so it has the tools to heal itself.
Heart and Body Extract gets results. To order your 2-month supply, call now, toll free at 866-295-5305. Order online at hbextract.com.
For the most amazing, calming, brain-stabilizing, blood sugar, and natural addiction-breaking formula, try CalMind. Anxiety melts, panic is gone, sleep is restful, and you'll stay calm during stress. Better than booze, mind-altering drugs, or anti-anxiety, antidepressant, toxic medications, CalMind lubricates your mind so you'll sail through the day effortlessly. Order Dr. Bill Deagle's Nutridyne at 888-212-8871 or NutriMedical.com and listen to the NutriMedical Report every weekday on the GCN Radio Network. NutriMedical, bringing nutrition and medicine together.
It's no secret that pathogens such as bacteria, viruses, molds, and fungus can inflict severe damage in the human body. Fortunately, a new and vastly improved silver solution has been developed. Supernatural Silver is a revolutionary broad-spectrum antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal solution that can be used inside the body as well as on the skin. Supernatural Silver is unique and superior to colloidal and ionic silvers, using a patented technology that is highly effective against colds, flus, infections, food poisoning, and yeast, in addition to many other pathogens. Supernatural Silver is scientifically supported, extremely safe, and is the #1 choice of thousands of people for immune system support. Find out how Supernatural Silver could change your life. Go to supernaturalsilver.com and use the promo code HEALTHY for 20% off. That's supernaturalsilver.com, and like us on Facebook.
Serious investors and traders want to make 81% return in 60 seconds? Use the same secret algorithm professional hedge fund managers use to make billions of dollars of profits. Turn $250 into $4,903 in just 7 clicks of a mouse. Our tool is so simple that my 82-year-old grandmother can use it to make insane stock market profits. Go to BigBuckRiches.com. Watch the free video before the hedge funds make us take it down. Go to BigBuckRiches.com. From the Robert Allen System, current returns not indicative of future results.
Is negative content or comments on the web affecting your personal or professional reputation? Unfavorable comments, embarrassing pictures, videos, legal documents, and negative articles can ruin your personal life, your career, or your business. It happens a lot, and it's just not fair. But what can you do? ReputationDefender.com can help protect your good name. Get a free consultation now. Call 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Call right now for a free expert reputation analysis. It's easy to squash the unfair attacks with our patented system, and the analysis is absolutely free. Make the best things about you jump out in searches. Protect your personal and professional reputation, your business, and your income. Get your free reputation analysis from ReputationDefender.com right now. Call 800-831-0771. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com today.
During the end of the last segment, we were talking about water, and I mentioned that Rick has in his workbook a recommendation that you consider 50 tablets that cost about $4.99 for water purification. You can get them at Walmart and other sporting good type stores. And Matt made a comment. Rick was talking about arsenic. Yep, you have to be concerned about that. And Matt was talking about thirst. So where are we with that? What do you do?
No, well, you got to drink. You got to keep yourself hydrated. And you don't want to get sick. So
right.
if you got, Rick mentions Clorox bleach is your friend. So most people have a bottle of bleach somewhere. And so you want to stock bleach because just 5 drops of bleach can purify a quart of water. Now, the thing is you have to have dwell time. So it takes about a half hour for the bleach to kill all the bugs in there if it's warm water, relatively warm. If it's really chilly water, like you can't swim in it, then you got to leave it at least an hour. If it's freezing ice cold water, then it takes about 4 hours for dwell time to kill all the bugs in there. So it's, there is no one perfect solution. I mean, boiling is, if you have the chance and you can burn it, then like I said, if you got fuel to burn and you've got a pot to put it in, and all you got to do is bring it to the point where you see it starting to boil and it's good to drink. So you just have to use what we've got at hand. If you can't boil it, then there's something called a SARI filter. Now, that's not SARI like SORRY, it's SARI, like the Indian saris. And what you do is you take very finely knit sari, they use this in India, and you fold it over 7 times, and then you put water, you filter water through the sari into a jug. Now, that's not 100% perfect, but it cuts down the incidence of diarrhea when people are, this is India, where they're taking water out of the water, straight out of the river and drinking it in villages. And it reduces the incidence of, diarrhea by at least 2 to 1. So it's not great. I mean, I'll take solar disinfection or boiling or Clorox bleach or halazone tablets any day over the sari filter. But, sand filters and sari filters are a lot better than nothing if you're down in a situation where you got nothing.
That's where you would take his sand filter would be a pair of jeans that you tie a knot at the bottom and you fill it with sand, as fine as sand as you can find, and you use that as your filter. It's not perfect. It's, jury rig. And it's interesting to note because to boil water means you have to start a fire. And if you don't have flint, and this one guy, in one of the things, they showed him where to find the flint and how to chip it, and it took him more than an hour to get the fire started. Another one, they took 2 sticks with shoelace from his shoe, and then, to bind the 2 of them together where you go back and forth to create a heat on a little, indent that had some fuzz that he would slowly try to get started. In all cases, starting fire naturally in this series took more than half an hour to get it happening.
It's starting a fire. If you've ever tried starting a fire with those little flints that they sell, or if you ever tried starting a fire with a bow drill, you find out that, wow, this is really hard. And not saying that it's not doable. I'm just saying that you want to practice these things. And in order to start fires in those conditions, you need to have perfectly dry tinder. And it needs to be extremely fine. And, it's very doable. But, boy, you want to practice this under good conditions. Because if you're going out and expect to find like a rain-soaked forest and use your little flint to start a fire with stuff that's all soaked with water, it's like, it ain't going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Under the best of conditions, it's difficult. And under terrible conditions, it's nearly impossible. So, you got to think ahead in this situation. A Bic lighter, boy, I tell you, in a collapse situation, Bic lighters, they'll be like gold.
And the other part of it was in the series, this brief series, 2 of the individuals that were trying to start fire were both ready to give up after the first hour of trying to flint it, or this bow press that they use where you heat it between 2 sticks. And it takes practice. That's what Matt said. And once you know that it can work, even if it takes you several hours, the whole idea is to stay focused. And it's not, the fire hasn't started until the fire starts.
Yeah, so
I remember the story
I've got good instructions in both my books, When Technology Fails and When Disaster Strikes. But like I said, you really want to practice this. People who really know what they're doing and have done this a lot, it's amazing that in 5 minutes, with a well-made drill and the right materials and totally dry, you can have a fire going in less than 5 minutes. But people, like Rick says, you watch that movie and 4 hours later, people are giving up. So practice, they get it done in 5 minutes with the right stuff. No practice, giving up in 3 or 4 hours with no fire.
And that takes the empowerment of knowing that you can do it if you just stay focused.
There's a story of the Boy Scout leader who's with his scouts, and he says, okay, boys, we're going to start a fire. What's the best way to start a fire? And the answers are the traditional ones. Okay, we'll take some sticks, we'll get some tinder, we'll get some flint, we'll use a bow drill. And so he says, okay, what else? And, the boys are out of answers. And he says, okay, I'll tell you what, let's use these. And he pulls a pack of matches out of his pocket. And the point of it is that would save a lot of work, just having a pack of matches, right?
You know that just a solar reflector made with aluminum foil will actually work, will actually boil water, will actually be useful to kill bacteria. You'd be surprised what reflections from the sun can do. And if you have the right kind of container, like Matt said, and you let it hit with direct sunlight, even just direct sunlight will often clean your water. The problem is it has to do with the time thing, and most of us are too impatient.
But yes, pulling out a book of matches, and in my backcountry kit, I've got waterproof, windproof matches. I've got Bic lighter. Just like I have in my go bag, I've got a water filter that's field serviceable. I prefer the Katadyn or the MSR ones. Those are the standards in the backcountry around the world. They go to Nepal, keep people healthy. And I got a SteriPen. So it's like this stuff, when you don't have those simple items, you have to resort to solar disinfection, chloride, sand filters, all of those things. So planning ahead and having some of these tiny little compact things in your go bag makes a difference between 4 hours of misery trying to get a fire going and trying to boil water and doing that, or just simply pull out your little filter and pump away, and you got a quart in 2 minutes, and you can trust it and you can move on. So planning ahead and having the right stuff makes a big difference. But I like to teach people how you can do it from scratch. If you happen to be stuck somewhere and don't have your bag of cool stuff. It's like you need to be able to do it both ways. And of course, I'd much rather pull the cool stuff out of my bag and live in comfort and live in health and have my have all that great stuff. Have my colloidal silver generator on hand, have my headlamp in the bag, have my water filter in the bag, have my little SteriPen in the bag, all of those things. So, you got to be able to fend for yourself from scratch, but boy, if you've got the cool stuff, that's so much better way to go.
I would like to end. Yeah, I'd like to end with one on water by stating, when I was in Mexico City 2 years ago, that's like 26 million people in 100 square miles of ghetto. Every single resident had 3 days of water above each dwelling. You'll see that as you fly in and you drive around, you'll see the tanks over every single house. Nobody in the United States even thinks like that. And while you might think Mexico is more primitive than America, right now, America is completely inequipped to deal with the most basic of needs.
As you talk about this and talk about starting fires and water, there's a way that you can start a fire with. If you have an AA battery in a flashlight, 1.5 volt battery. I guess I should say dry cell.
They did that with a flashlight. That was one of the things in the remote thing. They used the flashlight and the little bulb where you have a single chance where you break the glass bulb and then you turn the flashlight on in tinder.
Another way of doing it is taking a gum wrapper that has a foil back, and you use the resistance of the aluminum foil back and the material that covers the wrapper, which would be like a paper, and it gets so hot that it will start a flame like a match. You get one shot at it, but you can just go from plus to minus with a thin piece of, cut that gum wrapper into a strip maybe 1/3 of an inch wide, and go from plus to minus, and it will get red hot and start a fire right there. But you get one shot at that too.
Yeah, one shot means you got to really have your tinder ready to go. I mean,
that's right.
My when I was a little kid, I went camping with my granny all the time, and our goal was, she'd say, "Here's one match, and get everything ready so we can build a fire with one single match." And we did all the time, but that took like training and prep, and so we'd get various levels of tinder together, and everything would be dry. And we were doing this in New Hampshire where it rains all the time, so we always made sure we collected tinder when it was dry and put it in an area under a tarp so it would stay dry. So planning ahead, we as a child, like I said, we learned how to always build fires with a single match. But yeah, having a single match is a great luxury.
And back in the colonial days, I remember reading in elementary school that, if someone had a fire and it went out, they would go to the neighbors and they would try to get some coals and put them in a metal box and rush home with them so they could use the coals to restart their fire in their fireplace because their fire went out. That was the easiest way to do it. But And, when you talk about boiling water, now we're only talking about biologicals, killing them, but that has nothing to do with remediating or making the chemicals, the toxins in the water, safe, right?
That's correct. Totally correct.
Yeah. So that's another issue. So you might want some of those tools that Matt talks about, and Rick, or you may want to boil the water and use the steam. Now you know that USAPrepares.com is your source for water filtration systems. Here at the farm, we use our water filtration system for drinking, cooking, and for our cats and dogs. Which brand are we using? Well, that would be the ProPure system, because it filters out pathogens, microbes, chlorine, and fluoride. Multiple sources indicate that fluoride is responsible for lowering our IQs by 5%. Now, how many of you would like to sign up for a lower IQ? USAPrepares.com offers ProPure water filtration systems and accessories at the same price as everyone else, except we offer an instant rebate. We buy them by the pallet loads and pass the savings on to you. And if you're outside of Missouri, there's no sales tax. And if this appeals to you, visit USAPrepares.com. That's USAPrepares.com. You can order online, and we have the ProPure water filtration systems in stock, ready to ship. USAPrepares.com. ProPure water filtration systems at the same price as everyone else, except we offer an instant rebate.
Sciatica, lower back pain, hip pain, poor posture. If you suffer from any of these problems, get ready to relax. Introducing an amazing product that's been in the market for over 25 years, the Sacro Wedgie. It was invented by a football coach using a common sense osteopath technique. He created this device to help his athletes by isolating and supporting the sacrum, which is the keystone of our anatomy. This wedge-shaped bone is in the center of our hips, where a lot of pain starts. Simply relax 20 minutes daily on the amazingly simple Sacro Wedgie and let gravity do the work, helping muscles rebalance and start releasing nerves. Sit in the Sacro Wedgie at the computer or while traveling to help correct posture to finally help relieve those stubborn aches and pains for only $33.95. It's made in the USA, so click the family-owned website at sacrowedgie.com, spelled SACROWEDGY.com, or call 1-800-737-9295. That's 1-800-737-9295. Relax your back pain away with the Sacro Wedgie.
As if chlorine in our water weren't bad enough, now they're adding ammonia?
It's true. Some municipalities are now adding ammonia plus chlorine to your water supply. It's a disinfectant called chloramine. But with a trusted Big Berkey water filter, you can keep chloramine out of your water. New NSF EPA certified lab tests show EPA Berkey water filters remove chloramines, pharmaceuticals, BPA, pesticides, bacteria and viruses, all forms of fluoride, and much more. Big Berkey water filters are the original and most trusted on the market. The gold standard in water purification. And our filters last for years at less than 2 cents per gallon. Big Berkey, the one that's powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get your Big Berkey today. Call 1-877-99-BERKEY or click BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS? Get on board with the Tax Admiral. Don't take on the IRS alone. I'll cut penalties and reduce your overall tax bill. Sometimes I can even get it zeroed out completely. We're an A-rated company helping people clean up their mess with the IRS. If you owe $10,000 or more, then call the Tax Admiral.
Call 800-287-7180. Again, that's 800-287-7180. 800-287-7180.
Hi, this is Dr. Joel Wallach, the Mineral Doctor. You've heard me talk about 90 for Life for years. 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 2 fatty acids. You may not know this, that I've actually designed Arthrodex for animals. That's right. Your pets need 90 for Life too. Get this essential pet product by calling 877-279-9422. That's 877-279-9422. Again, 877-279-9422.
Ted Anderson telling you about Jordan Rubin's Beyond Organic Green-Fed Raw Cheddar Artesian Cheese featuring whole milk created through ancient dairy breeding, unpasteurized, untreated whole milk on the same farm the cows graze, containing natural sources of omega-3s, CLA protein, calcium, probiotics, and enzymes. I have never tasted cheese this good, and you need to try it. Contact your Longevity distributor or call 877-878-4203 or go to gcnteam.com.
Are your Google search results killing you? Unflattering content in blogs, news articles, online reviews, social media, or other sources can jeopardize your reputation, your business, and your livelihood. Let Reputation.com help. Our patented technology will make the truth about you more visible while pushing down unwanted negative content. Improve your Google search results. Call Reputation.com at 1-800-831-0771 for a free consultation. That's 800-831-0771.
You know, as we move on and talk about food, you know, that's one of the next things we need to talk about in shelter, of course. So, Rick, in your book, your workbook, Surviving, Can You Survive 30 Days, you know, with no grid, you've got whole milk, cola, white bread, rolls, sugar, 2% milk, ground beef.
I know, the American diet.
Yeah, where's that gonna come from? Where's that going to come from?
That's a good question. It's going to come from Monsanto.
Yeah. So how do we do that? And what do you recommend we do in our 30 days without the power grid? That's going to be really tough.
Yeah. Well, that's why I say that a zombie is East LA when they're out of food. Look what happened just in the last few weeks with the weather that they've had on the East Coast, and what happened in the stores because of people panicking.
Well,
I was in Hawaii right when Fukushima happened, and they were concerned about a tsunami that was going to hit Kailua. It didn't, of course. There was a 3-foot wave that put the first street underwater, but I have a picture in the book of the shelves and the way it looked, it's not in my PowerPoint. It shows the shelves are barren, just like they were on the East Coast, because people panic. The second week, watch what happens next when they're doing it with guns.
Yeah, and just take one guy, okay? So one guy in New York City, and he's homeless, okay? So he's looking for something, and he's begging for money, and he's also dumpster diving. So now that's just one guy dumpster diving, looking for what's left over from somebody throwing out uneaten McDonald's hamburger or French fries or something like that. Well, that's one guy, and is he going to claim that entire dumpster? And another guy goes diving in the same dumpster. Now there's a fight, over that dumpster, what might be in there. I mean, this is a pretty serious situation that could unfold.
If you were, for example, living in New York City in a high-rise and you're, let's say, 12 floors up, where are you going to go to the bathroom?
Well, the food, obviously storing your food is key in this situation. The other thing is that in a true survival situation, say you don't have your stored food, or say you're separated from it, or somebody came by and took it from you because they were meaner and badder and they had a bunch of friends and they came to your door and said, well, you got to leave because we're going to kill you if you don't give us your food. So for any one of those scenarios, if you're out and about, then your ability to forage for food in the wild is absolutely critical. Now, it's kind of tough to go and learn these things when you can just go to the store. It's like, well, why should I spend time doing this? Why do I do this? And the truth of the matter is that in survival classes in Arizona, I was on the phone like years back. It might have been Cody Lundeen, and back in those days I didn't know who Cody Lundeen was. It probably was him. We were both on a show together, and the guy on the other end, perhaps Cody Lundeen, shared this story, and he said, I teach primitive living skills in Arizona, where people come to my class and we learn how to do everything the old-fashioned way. No guns, no knives, no fish hooks, and at the end of the class, everyone goes out into the wilderness for 3 days, and they have to fend for themselves. Now, typically in this class, it splits into the men and women. He says almost always they split up, and the women go out and focus on foraging. Well, we'll have to finish this in just a minute, but
Yeah, and Matt, as you say this, this happened to one of our instructors' families. An invading force came to their farm and said, "This is a really nice farm. By the way, you got 24 hours, because it's ours in 24 hours. If you'd like to live, you're out of here." And they lost the farm. Absolutely true story. So if you don't think it can happen, class, it happened to one of us right here at usaprepares.com. Matt Stein and Dr. Richard Allen Miller will be back with us right after top of the hour news and commercial announcements. And we're going to talk about surviving, and we're going to talk about earthquakes. Please, don't touch that dial.
Yeah, that was the first hour. I'll take your cup out for you if you like.
How many of you want to learn how to dig up bugs, worms, and raise crickets for food? Do you prefer to eat them dried and crunchy or while still alive? Well, you won't have to if you can defend your food supply from predators. You may want to get an AR-15 kit from guns80.com and build your own AR-15 rifle from a kit. If you can legally own a rifle, you can purchase this AR-15 kit. If you're handy, you can complete the rifle in about an hour. The kit comes with all the parts you're going to need to build your rifle, but you'll need a drill press. And survivalists need one anyway. The Guns80.com team purchased the same used floor-standing drill press that I have for $100. You can too. And when you're finished, you'll have a paperwork-free AR-15 rifle, a drill press, drill bits, and the knowledge to maintain your AR-15 rifle, all for less than you expect. So if you want a paperwork-free AR-15 parts kit like mine, visit Guns80.com, Guns80.com, and let the unprepared have our share of the bugs.
For over 5 years, you've been hearing about the Berkey guy, so you may know a few things about him. For example, you are well aware of the superior quality and effectiveness of Berkey water filters and accessories. But did you know the Berkeys have had independent lab tests done to prove just how effective they are? It's true, and he can email you the test results. Just visit goberkey.com. You may also know that the Berkey guy has helped tens of thousands of people get better prepared. Now here's something you may not know. GoBerkey.com has amazing specials and deals all the time on a wide variety of survival and preparedness products. Most ready to ship same day. Visit the Berkey guy at goberkey.com and be sure to click the red Products on Sale Now button. You can always call toll-free 877-886-3653. Again, that's 877-886-3653. goberkey.com, home of the Berkey guy.
Are you worried about how dangerous the world has become? In these days of terrorist attacks, natural disasters, or even a future collapse, you need to be medically prepared to keep your family safe. I'm Joe Alton, MD of store.doomandbloom.net, where you'll find an entire line of uniquely designed medical kits and supplies for when help is not on the way. For everything from individual first aid kits to the ultimate family medical bag, go to store.doomandbloom.net today. That's store.doomandbloom.net. You'll be glad you did.
Attention USA Prepares listeners. When you're on the road or have limited data or Wi-Fi, now you can listen to USA Prepares unfiltered and untapped at no extra charge on this non-federal phone number, 1-605-477-3249. Try it now to listen to USA Prepares 24/7 at no extra cost or data charges. These are not on federal lines. These are lines located on Indian reservations off the grid. Call 1-605-477-3249. No smartphones or internet needed. To hear USA Prepares untapped and off the grid, just call 1-605-477-3249.
Everyone all set? Hour number 2 of USAPrepares.com. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us. Matt Stein's with us. I'm Vincent Finelli, and we're talking about survival. Matt was telling us a story at the end of the previous hour, and he's talking about how men and women were trained to survive, and when it was their time to actually prove that they could survive, the men and women seemed to separate, and women began foraging. Mac, please tell us the rest of that.
Yeah, so typically then after 3 days, the men would focus on the common manly thing, like we're going to go and we're going to hunt and we're going to fish. And the women in the groups, and this is just, it's just the way they almost always separated out in this guy's classes. They would focus on foraging for edible fruits, nuts, tubers, berries, roots, whatever. And come day 3, the women usually took pity on the starving men and shared their bounty that they'd foraged for. And so I grew up in Vermont hunting and fishing, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners have spent a lot of time out there hunting and fishing. And I like to ask when I'm speaking to a large group, I like to ask, how many of you guys and women have had like a really good day hunting on the last day of hunting season? And so far, I think I've had like 2 people raise their hands. There was one woman who got like a 6-point buck on her last day of hunting season, and one guy. But I know growing up in Vermont, like everyone wanted to go out hunting on the first day of hunting season because there was plenty of game and they weren't that smart and they were pretty easy to get. Whereas on the last day of hunting season, it's like the ones that didn't get killed were really smart and made themselves very scarce. And so in a collapse type situation, you're living in a country that's pretty well armed, and there's going to be tons of people out there counting on their hunting skills to go out and provide for themselves and their family. But come that last day of hunting season, there's not much game left. In a collapse type situation, you're looking at something that's 100 times worse than the last day of hunting season, because there's 100 times as many people out there. And it's not just going out hunting for fun. It's like their lives and their bellies and their hunger depend on that. So you really want to think about this, and the time to practice your foraging skills is now. And so on my website, down at the bottom of the page at When Tech Fails, I've got some links to some really recommended books. There's some great books on wild edibles. And there's one called Wild Weeds, 10 weeds that are all over. They're very common. They're really good to eat. And then there's other books, several different recommended books, top-notch people on wild edibles. So the time to practice this and build these skills is now, not trying to figure these things out when everything's falling apart and your life depends on it.
So then there's another thing to realize. Often, instead of hunting, that's one of the reasons why you domesticate your animals, so that they're like rabbits or turkey, because they're right there. Now, where I live in Oregon, you are commonly finding 20 or 30 wild turkey all in a covey walking across the road. And so you get the feeling that food is plentiful. It's a lot easier to capture and trap these animals and then raise them for when you're hungry. It's rather than going out and shooting them. It's interesting. It's a mindset, and it's called becoming empowered, where you have the confidence, even though you don't need to do it, you know how to do it.
Rick and Matt, during the 1950s, both of you have been to our farm. Right here on our farm in the surrounding area in Missouri, in the Ozark Mountains, during the 1950s, there was a drought. And farmers were cutting down trees in order to feed the leaves of the trees to their cows. I mean, it was a huge problem. It was such a serious problem. People were starving. And they hunted deer, and the deer just about vanished. There were hardly any deer left. Rabbits, deer, squirrel, they were all shot for food. And so when you talk about what could happen, like the first day of hunting season, and how most of the animals are killed and they're just not available after day number 1, which is why the hunters just about kill each other and themselves to be out there early on day number 1. Well, it happened. It happened here in Missouri, in our neck of the woods, and the farmers talk about how serious it was. So if we think, hey, I got me a gun and I can shoot, there might not be much to shoot at other than people trying to take what you have.
In China,
seriously,
they eat their dogs, and so when Barbara Woodhouse says "walkies," for the dog to walk, that's spelled with a W-O-K.
Well, when my mother-in-law grew up in Indonesia. Yeah, walkies. So she grew up in Indonesia, and during World War II and the Japanese occupation, there were no kitty cats, there were no family dogs. They were digging up the roots of the flowers in the gardens to eat. I mean, this was desperation. And in Korea, when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1993 or something like that, when they called it quits on Christmas Day, then the lifeline for spare parts and food and supplies to North Korea just dried up like that. All the birds, all the squirrels, all the bunny rabbits, they're all gone. Certainly the large animals, they're all gone. People were digging up grass and boiling the roots of grass to eat. If you couldn't forage, and if you weren't hooked into the government pipeline for food, meaning you were part of the military or part of the government, then you're on your own. And something like 5 million people got so hungry that they either starved or died of disease because they were so weakened during the cold winter in North Korea. So it's, these things have happened across the planet many times. We're just not used to it happening in the United States. I mean, the last time it was really that bad in the United States probably was Civil War times, when people were starving all over the country, and it was desperation. So we're just kind of fat and lazy in the United States. We're used to everything being there, being able to go to Walmart and Kmart and Costco and get everything you want whenever you want it. And hopefully that'll keep going. But I have a sense that it's not going to be within my lifetime. I'm going to see things fall apart where you just can't do that.
It's about a need for a lifestyle change. And I think the most important thing to realize is that it isn't something that you learn, it's something that you study. In other words, it isn't going to the door, like Simon says, you can go halfway to the door. It's a process where it's the journey. And as you get more and more self-confident of being able to throw yourself into the environment and revert back, now your challenge becomes, how can you integrate your current technology and do it better than Grandpa?
Now,
as you talk about this, Matt and Rick, I don't know if you could hear the sound of a tractor in the background from the studio here on the farm, but we have literally relocated our cows. We've fenced out a small, maybe a few acres around the house, and we let the cows have everything else. Actually, right now they have access to 160 acres where they are foraging through and grazing around the woods. And some fields that we're expanding. And the reason we're doing that is we want to keep the cows close to the house so that we can protect them, because we think things are going to get so bad that the animals will be shot for food from the dirt road in front of our farm. I actually think this is coming. And,
in the deserts, in the deserts, cacti hold a lot of water. And once you understand your environment, and each habitat is different, up in Idaho is quite different than Missouri, and Oregon is quite different than Arizona. You get, the food is everywhere. It really is. There's tubers and dandelion, all kinds of different products that are easily gotten to. Yule Gibbons aside, that's an extremely important thing to learn, to study, is how to live off your environment. And that's why Gurdjieff said that when, you eat your environment, the whole concept of macrobiotics, the idea that you've been climatized so that if you live on the coast, you eat fish. If you live in the Midwest, you're primarily into grains. That kind of awareness is going to serve you well.
So, Vinny, how many cattle do you have these days?
I'm reluctant. I'll tell you why I'm reluctant to tell you, but I will. I'll tell you in a roundabout way. As of January 1st, the authorities will tax a farmer based on the number of cows he has on the 1st. Now, this is not the number that we had on the 1st of January, okay? This is what we have today. A little over 100 cows. And they are Angus cows, and they are wonderful animals. They come when we call them. They're really well behaved. And that's because we spend a lot of time with them. We literally spend time in the fields with them, and we talk to them, and they come over for their hugs. They trust people, and that's a problem because we're nice to them. But they might trust other people as well who may shoot them. And, that is, of course, a concern. I really meant what I said about keeping them close to home at this point. But so that's kind of what we have right now. And you've seen the cows here, right?
Oh, yeah. Right. Nice place you got there. Yeah.
Well, Matt and Rick, earthquakes. That's another serious problem. We're having more earthquakes in this country than we've ever had before. Some people believe it's fracking. Some people believe it's outside objects.
The physics of it,
all the above, and the sun.
Yeah, the physics of it would suggest that the Earth is literally expanding right now.
Mm-hmm.
And with that comes the rumble as various plates move across uneven surfaces where they've been resting. And that's what's causing all the earthquakes around right now. Because
let's talk about earthquakes when we come back, because there are a lot of things that are unsettling. One of them is being in a tornado. It's pretty frightening. Another one is an avalanche. Another one is an earthquake. And let's talk about what you think might happen and why when we come back. By now you know that USAPrepares.com is your source for water filtration systems. Here at the farm, we use our water filtration system for drinking, cooking, and for our cats and dogs. Which brand are we using? Well, that would be the ProPure system, because it filters out pathogens, microbes, chlorine, and fluoride. Multiple sources indicate that fluoride is responsible for lowering our IQs by 5%. Now, how many of you would like to sign up for a lower IQ? USAPrepares.com offers ProPure water filtration systems and accessories at the same price as everyone else, except we offer an instant rebate. We buy them by the pallet loads and pass the savings on to you. And if you're outside of Missouri, there's no sales tax. And if this appeals to you, visit USAPrepares.com. That's USAPrepares.com. You can order online, and we have the ProPure water filtration systems in stock, ready to ship. USAPrepares.com. ProPure water filtration systems at the same price as everyone else, except we offer an instant rebate.
What would your life be like if you woke up each morning with new vitality, feeling better than you have in years, and you noticed a difference in your sleeping patterns, blood sugar levels, and had a sense of well-being overall? There's something that is changing thousands of people's lives, and you could be one of them. It's called Heart and Body Extract. Sharon Harris, co-creator of Heart and Body Extract, talks about the positive effects of Heart and Body Extract.
What happens with the formula Heart and Body Extract is it's giving the body the necessary vitamins, minerals, amino acids, enzymes, and phytonutrients so the body will heal itself. And yes, the body does have the ability to balance blood pressure, balance cholesterol, clean and unclog the arteries. It can also work on balancing the circulation for diabetics. So the body is an amazing thing. It simply needs some help so it has the tools to heal itself.
Heart and Body Extract gets results. To order your 2-month supply, call now, toll free at 866-295-5305. Order online at hbextract.com.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states. Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
Extend your life with Extendovite, a 7-herb combination made from garlic, cayenne, bilberry, hawthorn, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Each herb was chosen for their abilities to help improve irregular heartbeats, chest pain, lower cholesterol, as well as normalize blood pressure and clean and strengthen arteries, plus much, much more. Doctors have taken people off of some or all of their pills just because they believe their patients got better while taking Extendovite. Get the dependability of Extendovite. Just see how you feel in 6 months. A 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid is only $69.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
By now you know that wireless technology like cell phones do in fact pose dangers to the health and privacy of everyone. Block-It Pocket's wide range of products are unmatched in providing the protection you deserve. No scare tactics, just common sense. BlockItPocket.com offers quality American-made options to alleviate and eliminate these invisible dangers. Learn more at BlockItPocket.com or call 888-315-9618. BlockItPocket.com, enhancing health and privacy.
Class, if you'd like to hear more of what you're hearing and meet Matt Stein and Dr. Richard Allen Miller, you can do that in Hollywood, which is starting tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And there's a post on the website, usaprepares.com, usaprepares.com. You can click on the link. Friday's absolutely free. Saturday and Sunday, there is a charge for the events, and you can come as an individual, you can go as a family. I have seen Matt Stein and Rick in person. They've been to the farm. We talk about these kinds of things all the time. If this is a new experience for you, I believe you should really consider making it to the event if you can. Okay, it's information that can save your life. So the links are at usaprepares.com, page number 1. They are at docram.com, docram.com, as in Dr. Richard Allen Miller, ram.com. And they are also at When Tech Fails, as in When Technology Fails, at Matt Stein's webbook, whentechfails.com. So that is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And Friday is absolutely free in Hollywood, California. Matt, would you like to tell us a little bit more about what we might learn, and then let's get into earthquakes?
Sure. Friday night is the event that's totally free, sponsored by the Hollywood Studio District's Neighborhood Council, and it's on surviving the big one. So it's, this is LA. So everyone knows someday there's going to be a really big Kobe, Japan, Tokyo-style earthquake, San Francisco, major earthquake at the turn of the century. That's coming. They just don't know when. It's not like you can predict these things accurately. Nobody knows how to do that. And so it's coming to a really huge metro area now. That's pretty. They've seen bad. They've seen the Northridge quake, but this is something much, much bigger than that. And so it's surviving the big one or long-term grid down situation, which could be solar storm, EMP, anything. There's a whole variety of scenarios that could cause a very long-term grid down. It could even be the next superbug and some major pandemic coming through. No one knows kind of when it's going to happen. We know it will happen, but like a Hurricane Katrina, they predicted for 50 years that someday it was going to happen and the levees were going to fail, and that someday finally came. So that someday will come here. So that's what Friday night is about, and that's from 4 to 8 p.m. at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, which seems like a pretty weird place to have a workshop, but apparently it's beautiful grounds, and they have all kinds of events like major concerts and art events, things like that on the grounds, and it's in the historic chapel on the grounds there. But very beautiful place. We're going to go down there and tour around it today and get everything kind of set up for the start of things tomorrow. Then on Saturday, we're going to be talking about critical urban survival skills and preps. So it's building your 72-hour survival kit, the ultimate bug-out bag, prepping and survival tips and strategies, specific things about earthquake preparedness, critical gear and supplies to have on hand, herbal alternative, traditional medical supplies and techniques for coping with pandemic crisis, because disease goes hands in hand. When things collapse and there's no public water systems working, no sewage systems working, that's when disease really goes crazy in urban areas. We see it happen time and time again across the planet. We're just used to that happening in the third world and not in America. So that's something that you want to plan ahead. It's preparedness is like car insurance. I don't know anybody who says, "Wow, I got car insurance. I think I want to get in a head-on collision today." It's like, no, you You hope it never happens. You hope you never need the stuff. I'm be really happy if within my lifetime there's no major collapse, there's no major pandemic, there's no major grid down situation. I can always get what I want at the store. But I think that unless I die pretty soon, I'm probably going to see at least one of those situations. So urban gardens, local resilience, backup heat and power, wild edibles, medicinal plants and foraging, EMP, solar storm, all that good stuff. After the book, let's talk about Sunday, critical decision making.
Okay, we'll talk about what's going to happen on Sunday with Rick Miller and Matt Stein. And Sunday is critical decision making. And I've got a comment about what Matt Stein said about disease when we come back, and then we'll get right into critical decision making and earthquakes.
There's a movie that just came out, a sci-fi movie called...
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today. Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of slingbow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
This is an important message to all listeners. If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes to the IRS, the tax pros at OIC Tax want to help you. OIC Tax is dedicated to helping taxpayers just like you with their IRS problems.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS. I was working long hours and weekends just to make ends meet. To make matters worse, the IRS was about to garnish my wages, and I needed to file several years of back tax returns. Then I called the tax professionals at OIC Tax. They stopped the IRS from garnishing my wages. They even placed my account into the IRS's financial hardship program, so I don't have to make any payments to the IRS. That's right, no payments to the IRS while I'm in this program.
Call OIC Tax today to see if you qualify for the IRS's hardship program. Call 800-272-9128. Call now and mention you heard this radio commercial and receive 10% off their already low fees. 800-272-9128. That number, 800-272-9128. Call now, 800-272-9128.
Are you looking to sell body armor? Want to make extra money selling body armor at your local gun shows? With low minimum buys and great returns, Katie Armor is the answer. Make money in your spare time. It's American-made body armor with the quickest turnaround in the industry, which means you get your product when you need it at very competitive rates. And they'll ship it to you for free. If you own a business, give them a call today at 855-488-KATIE. That's 855-488-2284. Or go to katiearmor.com. Come and take it.
Dr. Richard Allen Miller with us, and just a quick update. Janet Randall, USA Prepares student, said to me that, sent me an email, that there's a recall, Purina wet dog food, 19 items that's posted on the website. You may want to consider not serving that to your animals. And by the way, we think the supply chain's going to just work and work and work. Here's just another example of a supply chain failure. Wet dog food recalled by Purina, and I'm sure you've all heard of Purina. So, Rick, critical decision making, you're going to teach that on Sunday? Please tell us about
basically, people will show up, and the first thing I do is the way I train SEALs, I get a baseline on you. I do a measure of your psychic ability, and I know where you are in that regard. Then, for the next couple of hours, I explain the protocols and how it works. And then I take you through some guided images and basically take you to that altered state where your ability in guessing is increased by like 400 times. And once you know that place, then at the end of the day, I measure your ESP again, and that pretty well settles it on how well this works, this protocol. And basically what we're trying to do is teach you not to think about what you're supposed to do, but to work closer with instinct. if you'll do that, you'll have approximately a 400-time higher survival coefficient than if you think with logic. Your upper brain, what we associate with the mind, is there to make all your beliefs true. I wouldn't have seen it if I hadn't have believed it. Now, once you get that concept, the brain, when you encounter a situation, gunfire, is that you can get out of here alive or you're going to get shot. And the very fact that getting shot is a possible option is pretty much like the way Merlin put it to Arthur when he said, anything not specifically forbidden is mandatory. That means if it's possible for you to get shot, you can count on it. And that's what your upper brain does. It puts you at serious risk. And if you work from the gut, now you have a higher level of getting closer to your purpose, which means, like a Navy SEAL, if a SEAL is working from the gut and gets shot, that's because he was supposed to make what happens next happen.
I remember being in class with you several years ago, and you were teaching us this, thinking with our gut, and you asked the entire class to think about one question that would be a yes or no question, and at an announced time, ask ourselves that question. And the question that I asked myself was, shall I continue broadcasting? Yes or no?
Well, tell me, Vince, what was your answer?
I said yes, and the next thing I said is, I can't believe it. I thought I should retire.
Your life would be a lot easier without it, I'm sure.
Once you realize how well you're designed, you have been trained and programmed to work from logic and mind control. The idea of our diets and the way, instinct is closer to why you're actually physically here. And once you get that and can understand that state of consciousness, your survival coefficient, your ability to survive, it increases like 400 times over where you are right now.
Well, I've found that I've been thinking with my gut for years, and more and more and more often, and I find that the decisions I make by doing that are correct. I really feel that way, and we're teaching our whole family and all around us to think that way as well. And we've been hearing for decades. So what does your gut tell you? And that's what you're talking about, and that's how you taught us in that class.
FEMA, just for the record, FEMA went through Grants Pass a year and a half ago, talking about what Matt will be discussing, the big one. And they're talking, FEMA on the West Coast is saying it's going to be an 8.4 off the coast of Crescent City, out in the ocean, that will drop the entire shelf from Alaska all the way down to Peru. And if you want to see the map of what the military believe is the new geography, you would Google future maps of America, Chet Snow. That's the one the military uses. Scallion, Edgar Casey, others are up there, but the one that the military uses as most likely doesn't mean it's going to happen, but we're trying to do our best estimates based on what we do and do not know. It will be an 8.4 off of Crescent City. And right now, Alaska last month had a 7.8. There it is. Read it and weep. And it's going to happen. As to when, I have no clue. I will say this. The things that cause Earth changes is primarily the sun. And the sun is right now been in dormant stage, and something, who knows what, is making it active, and why we're experiencing all the volcanoes. Just for the record, the volcanoes that we monitor are only 1/10 of the volcanoes that are actually erupting, because most of them are underwater, and is one of the primary reasons the oceans are heating up.
Matt, when you talk about the earthquakes, what are we going to learn in your seminar class this weekend?
Kiss your ass goodbye.
Well, we're gonna talk about. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
That really probably wasn't the main thing I was going to teach this weekend. We're going to talk about some different strategies. And the gut is. I teach like a much briefer version called the pit of the stomach technique in making critical decisions. So it's going to be preparedness. It's going to be survival strategies. It's how do you put your stuff together ahead of time, and also if after it happens you don't have anything, what can you rely on in the old-fashioned way when you've got no tools with you? You're just stuck. The earthquakes happened and you're there and you got nothing. Everything fell apart in the building. All of your plans went to the wayside because all that great stuff you had stored is gone. How do you deal with it? Or maybe you didn't have anything stored because you figured it was never going to happen in your lifetime, and it did happen. So we're going to talk about that. Now, a couple of the cool people talk about the triangle of life and, drop and duck, basically duck and cover. How do you protect yourself? And so we'll talk about both of those. And some say, it's, just drop, roll, and hang on is what you should do. And others say there's a triangle of life. So in my opinion, there's no one perfect answer, no one we'll just focus on this. So I like for people to be aware of the different strategies so that their gut at that moment that it's happening can guide them to the best action at that particular moment in time. What somebody in office theorizes is going to be the best strategy, maybe the best average statistical strategy, but it may not be right for you at that moment in time. So that's why being aware of the different options and different things to do at that moment when things are happening, your body will tend to react. I mean, I've done critical extreme skiing and rock climbing in my life, and I've seen my body react faster than I can think in crisis situations where in a blink of an eye it's all over. And I've watched my body respond lightning fast while my mind is kind of slowly trying to think of what to do. And I just sort of observed my body do things at lightning speed that saved me from losing an arm or a leg or getting killed. And so it's kind of amazing to watch your body do that when it's like, well, who's the watcher? What's causing the lightning fast responses? And what's this other thing that's very slowly thinking about it and kind of amazed at the lightning fast response that the body did? So we'll talk about all of those different kinds of things in the workshop, and people will come away with a sense of what they can do and what they should do, and how to prepare ahead of time, and also when things do happen and the dust settles, what are their best strategies? How can they deal with it? Whether they've got a bunch of supplies or whether they're stuck with just the clothes in their back and that's all they got. So, because that either scenario could very well be what happened.
There's a simple way to, one of the things I train SEALs, there's a simple way to determine whether or not a food that you have in front of you is edible or toxic. What you can do is you take the underarm, the lighter part of the arm just above the wrist, and you scratch it with a fingernail, and then you touch it with the food you have in question. If it festers within 10 to 20 seconds, it means there's histamine releases and you're going to have a bad reaction to it. And that is a first level of knowing when you're in the woods and you're not sure what root you can eat or not. You can scratch just below the wrist, put a little scratch with the fingernail so you see the white line, and then you can put the food right up against it, and it's a histamine response. It's a basic thing when you don't know what you're doing. Your body is on it.
Yeah, I have the whole edible food test rolled out in my book. You start by kind of squishing it up and rubbing it on sensitive skin. The next step, after if you have no reactions, is you kind of put it on your lips. And then you go to a third step of putting it, chewing a small amount and putting it under the tongue for a few minutes and then spitting it out. So you go kind of slow when you're testing new foods. Mm-hmm. And then the last step, you actually eat like a pea-sized piece. And then you see how it goes. Now, people are worried about eating stuff out in the wilds because of poisons, but the fact is that for centuries, human beings all over the planet ate what they foraged for, and they didn't die. So if you do this wisely, you can do that. Now, I met this guy, Sergey. Well, I guess I'm out of time on that one, but we'll finish that after that.
How many commercials do you guys have when you go somewhere? I'll be right back.
Little jack fried cards, different kinds of berets and things like that.
How many of you want to learn how to dig up bugs, worms, and raise crickets for food? Do you prefer to eat them dried and crunchy or while still alive? Well, you won't have to if you can defend your food supply from predators. You may want to get an AR-15 kit from guns80.com and build your own AR-15 rifle from a kit. If you can legally own a rifle, you can purchase this AR-15 kit. If you're handy, you can complete the rifle in about an hour. The kit comes with all the parts you're going to need to build your rifle, but you'll need a drill press. And survivalists need one anyway. The Guns80.com team purchased the same used floor-standing drill press that I have for $100. You can too. And when you're finished, you'll have a paperwork-free AR-15 rifle, a drill press, drill bits, and the knowledge to maintain your AR-15 rifle, all for less than you expect. So if you want a paperwork-free AR-15 parts kit like mine, visit Guns80.com, Guns80.com, and let the unprepared have our share of the bugs.
Hey, I rode the elevator with you, but I don't work on the upper floors. I just want to squeeze in there right next to you, so the RFID scanner in my pocket can capture all your personal information, your debit and credit cards, even your work ID badge. So your identity is now my identity. Going up, so am I.
For over 10 years, ID Stronghold has pioneered RFID blocking wallets and ID badge holders for consumers, the U.S. military, and even the Executive Office of the President. Shouldn't you be protected too? ID Stronghold wallets cost about the same as wallets in most stores, but give you extra protection.
I'm Walt Augustinowicz, founder and CEO of ID Stronghold. Don't be a victim of electronic pickpocketing. Protect yourself from crimes you can't see with ID Stronghold wallets, card sleeves, and purses.
Visit idstronghold.com and get the original RFID blocking wallets and badge holders. idstronghold.com.
Sciatica, lower back pain, hip pain, poor posture. If you suffer from any of these problems, get ready to relax. Introducing an amazing product that's been in the market for over 25 years, the Sacro Wedgie. It was invented by a football coach using a common sense osteopath technique. He created this device to help his athletes by isolating and supporting the sacrum, which is the keystone of our anatomy. This wedge-shaped bone is in the center of our hips, where a lot of pain starts. Simply relax 20 minutes daily on the amazingly simple Sacro Wedgie and let gravity do the work, helping muscles rebalance and start releasing nerves. Sit in the Sacro Wedgie at the computer or while traveling to help correct posture to finally help relieve those stubborn aches and pains for only $33.95. It's made in the USA, so click the family-owned website at sacrowedgie.com, spelled SACROWEDGY.com, or call 1-800-737-9295. That's 1-800-737-9295. Relax your back pain away with the Sacro Wedgie.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS? Get on board with the Tax Admiral. Don't take on the IRS alone. I'll cut penalties and reduce your overall tax bill. Sometimes I can even get it zeroed out completely. We're an A-rated company helping people clean up their mess with the IRS. If you owe $10,000 or more, then call the Tax Admiral.
Call 800-287-7180. Again, that's 800-287-7180. 800-287-7180.
Imagine a pill that can improve your focus, your memory, your sleep. A catalyst to improve your brain chemistry. Dr. Bill's Cognition Plus is truly the smarter in an hour pill. A combination of amino acids, trace minerals, and B vitamins, Cognition Plus is made with specialized herbal extracts that will enhance and support brain function. Our customers say,
I feel more focused.
my memory's getting better.
I can work longer with more useful hours.
Power up your neurotransmitters that have been depleted, like dopamine and norepinephrine. Stimulate the release of others, like serotonin and oxytocin. Improve circulation and energy production. Protect your mind and your loved ones today. Order Dr. Bill Deagle's Cognition Plus at 888-212-8871 or go online to NutriMedical.com. That's 888-212-8871 or NutriMedical.com. And listen to the NutriMedical Report every weekday on the GCN Radio Network. NutriMedical.com, bringing nutrition and medicine together.
Suffering from illness or disease? Frequently in pain? Overstressed? Always tired? The solution is to oxygenate your cells because disease cannot survive in an oxygen-rich environment. Introducing Vital Ion, the first mineralized edible oxygen in the world. Go to toolsforfreedom.com and get the Miracle of Oxygenation DVD free with any Vital Ion purchase. Call 800-770-8802. That's 800-770-8802. Let Vital Ion edible oxygen be your daily fountain of youth.
Class, Matt Stein and Dr. Richard Allen Miller are with us, and we're talking about a seminar event that's going on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and the information is posted on these websites, docram.com, whentechfails.com, when tech, as in technology, fails.com, and usaprepares.com. So one of the questions is, can you survive 30 days when, with a grid down situation? Well, if you're in Venezuela and you want to see what it's like, you'll get a chance to experience it for a week. Why? Because Venezuela is shutting down their electric grid for a week because they have an electric crisis. They have an electricity crisis because a lot of their power comes from hydroelectric, and the rain hasn't been enough to run the generating systems. So they don't have enough rain for their hydroelectric, and so they're in crisis. So what thought to be unending electricity, almost free, forever, stopped. So when we talk about a grid down situation, could it happen to you? Well, absolutely.
You said about Venezuela, you watch what they're doing right now this morning regarding food and how the government is taking over your farms because there isn't enough food in Venezuela right now. Venezuela is a preview of what will most likely happen in America in the next 2 years.
Matt, your thoughts?
Well, I'm always reluctant to give a timeline like that because I don't see it happening in our country in 2 years unless there's a major solar event, in which case it'll happen like instantaneously. And the thing about the solar events is that, or an EMP from a terrorist, that's a game changer. Your world will never be the same event that may not happen for a long time and could happen tomorrow. It's statistically, extreme solar events happen about once in 8 decades. And so you say, well, that's 80 years. That's a long time. Well, the thing is, it's been 95 years since the last one in 1921, but it was only 60 years before that to the Great Carrington event in 1859. So statistically speaking, we're overdue. Whether it'll be within 2 years, like Rick says, or whether it'll be 20 years, or it'll be 100 years, I don't know. But statistically, we're overdue. We're due for one now, and we've been due for one statistically for 15 years.
What I was trying to say about Venezuela is what they're currently enjoying in terms of lack of food and grid power is most likely going to be the way it's going to play in America in the next 2 years. You can watch Venezuela today and realize that there is a high likelihood that this is the way America is going to go in the next several years, probably, from some sort of who knows what.
Now,
a couple years ago, I was on stage in front of about 4,000 people at Laclede Electric Cooperative. I was running for the board of directors, and I pulled out of my suit or my sports coat pocket a 5.56 cartridge. Looks like a 223 that would go into an AR-15. And I held it up between my thumb and forefinger, and I said, just one of these is enough to take out a substation, an electric power substation, if it were shot in the right place, just one of these. And this is like 20 or 30 cents. And I talked with the engineer, the chief engineer at Laclede Electric, before I said that, before I went on stage. I said, here's what I'm going to say. And he said, well, you're absolutely right. So, Matt, you talked about terrorism. I'm not advocating this happen because it'd be a huge problem. But what I'm saying is we are vulnerable at a distance for something as simple as that. And that could bring the power down for tens of thousands of people. Just one little event like that.
Yeah, we're definitely vulnerable. Now, they actually had a situation where a group went in San Jose, California, and they shot at it. And it did take things down a little, but it wasn't as easy as they'd expected. But that doesn't mean the next time they won't be sure to take it down, the biggest stuff.
There you go. So, class, if you'd like to spend time with Matt and Rick, you may this weekend, starting tomorrow. And the three of us are going to travel around the country and give seminars, Three Amigos. And I'm really looking forward to being with Matt and Rick doing that at the arcade prepper shows. That will be a lot of fun. But you can meet two of the three of us this weekend. And the information's on the website, usaprepares.com. Matt, Rick, thank you so much for being with us today. By now you know that usaprepares.com is your source for water filtration systems. Here at the farm, we use our water filtration system for drinking, cooking, and for our cats and dogs. Which brand are we using? Well, that would be the ProPure system.